yo no sé si ustedes se quedaron en Porcelain, pero
Hijo.
sabemos que muchos de ustedes son súper mega ultra fans de Moby. Y el día de hoy está con nosotros Moby en vivo y a todo color, porque acaba de lanzar su álbum ReSound NYC, que es ReSound New York City. Ayer lo estuvimos escuchando, Rebeca y yo,
no puedo creer.
una cosa espectacular, donde reinterpreta y orquesta 15 de sus temas más icónicos, escritos o grabados en Nueva York, entre 1994 y 2010. Y para saber qué tan bien habían resistido el paso del tiempo, además tiene músicos y cantantes invitados, así es que, Moby, thank you so much for being on the show. We are honored. You know, we're talk radio, but music is our thing. So thank you for being with us this morning.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I just have to apologize because I should speak Spanish fluently. And I apologize that unfortunately I am an ignorant gringo and I can't speak Spanish fluently.
We love you.
Sorry.
Okay, now, why do you feel remorse with the fact that you don't speak Spanish fluently? Do you have somebody in your life that is Latin?
Oh, I'd say two big reasons. Well, three big reasons. One, because most of my family is actually from South America.
Really? Where?
I have my uncle and cousins are from Argentina, and I have other cousins from Ecuador. And also, I live in Los Angeles, which is, as far as I'm concerned, largely a Spanish-speaking city. And I feel so ashamed and ignorant that I'm not fluent in Spanish because I grew up hearing Spanish.
Yeah.
You know, it was spoken around me, but somehow I lost it. And I'm sorry.
Okay, there's something you must be able to say.
Oh, puedo hablar mucho en español, pero no puedo entiendo lo que tú dices, porque soy un hombre ignorante de los Estados Unidos.
But you know what? You compensate. Actually, you overcompensate with your music, so we will forgive you. I am sure that everything I just said, you got adjusted what I said.
A little bit. See, that's part of the problem is, for example, if I'm in Mexico, or if I'm in Central America, or South America, or Spain, or even most of Los Angeles, I'm always afraid to ask a question in Spanish because my accent isn't that bad because I grew up hearing Spanish.
Yeah.
But the problem is the moment someone tells me the answer, I don't know what they're saying.
Okay.
So I can ask a good question. I just can't understand the answer.
Okay. So you're walking into a Mexican restaurant, okay? Let's do this for fun. You're walking into a Mexican restaurant. What would you ask?
I might say, oh, escúcheme, soy vegano. Si no es problema, dice usted a mí que lo tienen, que están vegano, sin carne, sin huevos, sin leche, y también dónde está el baño.
Okay.
At which point they answer, and I don't know what they're saying.
Okay, so I'll answer that question, and you tell me what you got. Señor, no se preocupe. En este restaurante tenemos opciones en el menú para la gente que es vegana. De hecho, uno de los platillos que más gusta a la gente vegana es una ensalada que está llena de diferentes granos. Tiene chía, que es una gran fuente de calcio. Tenemos todo tipo de verduras. Y el baño está al fondo, a la izquierda. Okay, what did I say?
I understood 20% of that.
Okay.
So basically you said, yes, sir, we can make you a salad. We can also put maybe some chia seeds in it.
Yeah.
And the bathroom is somewhere, I don't know where.
Okay. It was all the way to the back on the left side. You know what? You're not that bad. You're not that bad. And you know what? I never thought that you would be such a nice person. And that's something we appreciate very much on the show.
Okay, well, maybe it's just pretending, but yeah.
No, maybe it's been, you've been vegan for 35 years.
I went vegan in 1987. So yeah, this year will actually be, my math is not great, but I think this year will be my 36th, come November, it'll be my 36-year vegan anniversary.
Claro. And actually you have like a documentary that's called Punk Rock Vegan Movie that actually talks about the relationship between punk rock and animal rights. I'm sure you've seen what Morrissey has done for animal rights all the time.
Yeah, Morrissey. I mean, when I was growing up, I was a big Smiths fan, and I always loved Morrissey. I have to say, he had, and I still love his music, but he has said a few things that sound a little right-wing to me. So I appreciate his music. I appreciate his animal rights stance. I just am not all that comfortable with some of the right-wing things he said.
Me muero de curiosidad, porque creo que los que somos neoyorquinos traemos un pleito casado con los que son los angelinos. Entonces yo no entiendo qué hace Moby viviendo en Los Ángeles. Did you understand what I just said? Like, I don't get, you were born in New York. What the hell are you doing in LA, Moby?
Well, yeah, I was born on 148th Street in New York, in Morningside Heights in Harlem. And I thought I would live in New York forever. But then about 15 years ago, I got sober because I'm an alcoholic. And I learned very quickly that New York is paradise if you're a drunk. And it was a very hard place for me to be sober. So I moved to Los Angeles and I go hiking every day. Like, I understand parts of Los Angeles are not very attractive and some of the culture here is a little unappealing, but the fact that I get to wake up and go hiking in the mountains while being in a city, that to me is really magical.
Claro. But you know what? It's really interesting what you just said, because part of what we talk on the show all the time is one of our priorities, mental health. So what you're saying right now is the fact that you are an alcoholic, making that huge decision of moving to the other side of the country, looking for your mental health, is something to be very admirable.
Yeah, and you know, it's wonderful that you spend a lot of time and attention on mental health, because obviously so many people are struggling. And one thing that I've learned is there's so many ways to try and make ourselves healthier. And there's, you know, the things of, you know, prayer, meditation, therapy, 12-step programs, like so many good things we can do, but also, and maybe I'm really stating the obvious, and I apologize if I am, but, you know, it's taking care of our bodies as well. Like, one of the greatest things I can do for my mind is eat well and go hiking. And I find that, like, when I come back from hiking in the mountains, it's almost like I've had therapy.
Yeah. And we should all find in life those things and make time and schedule the things that make us feel better.
Yeah, because we live, to state the obvious, we live in a world where there's so much information, and all of that information is designed to make us stressed. You know, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or, you know, watching videos on YouTube or just watching the news, like, everything is designed to create stress. And sometimes it's fun, but that stress has consequences. And I really hope that people can figure out ways of protecting themselves from all of that anxiety and stress.
So thank you so much, Moby, for sharing that. I always say that it is so important to share your life experience, to share knowledge, because you never know when that will change somebody else's life, and that will change or touch somebody else's heart. So thank you for that. Now, we're going to talk for hours, and we're never going to get to the album.
Okay, great.
So ReSound New York City, and it's 15 iconic songs that were written and recorded in New York City between 1994 and 2010. So tell us about the story.
Well, as mentioned, like I was born in New York and I grew up in New York or around New York. And I realized when I was working on this record that all of the songs, except for one, there's a cover of the Neil Young song Helpless, but everything else was written while I was living in New York. And it was just this fascinating process of remembering the past, like remembering not just where I was when the songs were written, but like what was going on in the world, and being reminded of that sense of optimism. Like if you remember, you know, in the late 90s especially, like we thought that the internet was going to bring us all closer together. We thought that Russia was going to join the European community. We thought climate change was just an idea. China was enacting democratic reforms. Like it really felt like there was so much optimism. And if I'm being honest, especially pertaining to mental health, it sometimes is challenging to hold on to that optimism today when there's so many problems in the world. And it definitely can be a little bit of a struggle to find sanity in a world that seems to have gone crazy.
So that is the main mission of ReSound New York City, to bring joy and optimism, and that decade that made us feel so happy and hopeful.
Well, I mean, with music, and maybe I'm being really basic and stating the obvious, but like music communicates emotion. You know, it can communicate joy, it can communicate sadness, it can communicate celebration, it can communicate mourning. And that's why I've dedicated my life to being a musician, is because it's so powerful. And you know, I'm not saying my music does this, but what I try to do is
I can't believe music. Like I cannot believe music. I tell this to my boss every day. I don't know why I have a talk show. I want to have a music show, like 3 hours a day. The only thing I want to do is play music. So I get you.
Yeah, and I used to work with this organization in New York called the Institute for Music and Neurologic Function that actually looked at scientifically how music affects the brain, how it affects the endocrine system, how it actually can promote neurogenesis, you know, the growth of new brain cells in the hippocampus. And I have to say, it made being dedicating my life to music seem that much more, I don't know, relevant or potentially
meaningful,
even interesting.
Yeah. Now, let me tell you something. Porcelain. I think that part of the reason why it is such an iconic electronic song is because of the emotions that that song creates in anybody that listens to it.
Well, thanks. I mean, that's the goal. And what's funny is when I was making that album in particular, Play, which I believe came out 24 years ago today.
1999.
Yeah. So I think it was actually today, 1999, it was released. And I thought that was going to be my last record. I thought my career had ended. And I thought that record was just going to be a complete failure. And in hindsight, I'm glad that I was mistaken. You know, it's just so surprising it actually went on to become successful, because I really thought it was going to be the end of my career.
But why did you think that was going to be the last album?
Well, if you remember, 1999 was the year of Limp Bizkit. And I'm not criticizing these people, but it was the era of Kid Rock and Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys. It was a big pop year. And I was releasing this strange record that I had made in my bedroom. And there I was, like a bald guy in his 30s making a weird record in his bedroom. Like, I certainly didn't expect it to become successful.
I just have one question. Listen to what I'm going to say. Try to connect with Moby 1999. What was your mood when you wrote Porcelain?
Well, in that in particular, I was at the end of a relationship. And as I assume you know, and everyone listening knows, like, some relationships end dramatically, you know, and some relationships just end with a degree of quiet sadness. And the relationship I was in, it was with a woman who lived in Europe, and we really cared about each other, but we knew that the relationship wasn't going to work. So there was no anger, there was no fighting, there was no drama. It was just this quiet sadness. And so the song Porcelain was really inspired by that, like the end of a relationship that was not, filled with fire. It was just a real end of a relationship that felt very sort of sad and quiet.
Yeah, because this is a very nostalgic and melancholic song. So what you say, like, it makes all the sense. I mean, I could talk to you for hours. Like, I feel the connection here.
Mm-hmm.
But we have 2 more minutes. So in a nutshell, talk to me about ReSound NYC.
Well, I mean, to put it in perspective, when I was growing up, I thought I was going to be a school teacher. I thought I was going to, I was a philosophy major at university. I thought I was going to be a university professor, and I never expected anyone to listen to the music that I made. So I'm still, all these years later, surprised that I've had a career as a musician. And this record and the record before this, Reprise, I made them with an orchestra, with a gospel choir, for Deutsche Grammophon, which is the oldest, most respected label in the world. And it's just still so surprising to me, not just that I've been able to make music that sometimes people listen to, but that I got to make these records with Deutsche Grammophon.
That is amazing. Moby, it was great talking to you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh yeah, it was great pleasure. It was a great pleasure speaking to you as well. And if you can, have a wonderful time when you're traveling over the next week or so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When are you coming to Mexico?
Well, I mean, I live in Los Angeles, so practically speaking, I do live in Mexico. But in terms of coming to Mexico, the actual Mexico proper, that's a good question. I wish I had a good answer because I love Mexico. I just don't know when I'm going to be there next.
Well, the last time you were here was 2011. So get the plan together and come on down.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's been way too long, and I hope that I'm there very soon.
Thank you very much. A big kiss to you all the way to LA. Take care.
Okay, thanks so much.